Good day to you, Store Nation. Today we have a fantastic interview with Gavin Shields. I'm not going to spend too long. I say that all the time, but I do spend loads of time on the intro. Basically, I just wanted to get across in this bit because it almost sounds, I said afterwards, I said, Gavin, I'm sorry for making it sound like an advertisement because I want to get across right down to you guys that I'm not affiliated with Gavin in any way. There's no payment or anything whatsoever. I just know that Gavin Shields and Stora can offer so much value to other people in this industry. That's why I'm so passionate about it, because I know where Gavin's coming from as well. He spent a lot of time, effort, money, and work on this product, and it really is a fantastic product. I've booked myself in with a demo call on Monday when I'm recording this. It's Friday when I'm recording it, but I'm booked in on Monday with Gavin, and it's just a great interview. Hopefully you'll get some benefit out of it, and just to see what the Stora software can do for you and how automation is going to be changing the landscape of the industry. I think it's I think it's going to massively change, and something that I'm really excited to be a part of as well, the automation. And obviously, we're dipping our toes in the automation landscape, I suppose, in this next, I'd say few months, in this next 6 to 9 months. That's when our site will be open, our full manless facility. Anyway, without any further ado, here is Gavin Shields. I'm sure you're going to get loads of benefit out of it. If you do need to contact him, all the links are in the show note and stuff. Enjoy it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, and I will speak to you guys on Friday. See you soon. Gavin Shields, welcome to the podcast, part 2. Thank you very much for coming on, buddy.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks a lot.
No problem at all. So for those of the people who didn't listen to the first episode we did together, can you just give a little bit of an insight about you and what you do in the industry?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so my name's Gavin. I'm based in Northern Ireland, and I run a couple of years ago, decided to get into self-storage. I spent quite a bit of time. That time I was running a tech company and sold a few shares in it, and spent some time kind of doing a bit of research into self-storage. And I found a few things I really liked about self-storage. First of all, as your listeners know, self-storage did very well has done very well through the economic cycle, including, the Great Recession. It's done very well. Second of all, I did a bit of look. I looked into the UK self-storage industry, and the US market has 9 square feet of self-storage per head of population. And in the UK, it's 0.7 square feet. So, that's an insane difference. And, there's obviously headroom in the UK. I mean, it might not ever reach the same, but there's obviously room for growth. And then, thirdly, when you look at the existing self-storage supply in the UK, there's a really interesting pattern. You see the big guys, like, big yellow, big indoor self-storage facilities, primarily city-based with staff on site managing it. Then you see, second, you sort of see interesting businesses like, lock and store or storage shed, or even, yourself with Storemore, where there's smaller indoor facilities in small cities, maybe 50,000 people or more. And then for kind of the small towns, or the small cities and large towns of 5,000 to 50,000 people, you typically won't find any indoor self-storage in those places. You'll often find container-based sites.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting, and I did some research into the population, and there's actually 19.2 million people in the UK who live in towns of 5 to 50,000 populations. So that's a third of the country almost, who live in towns and do not have access to indoor self-storage. So that was a kind of a really interesting stat for me when I looked at that. And so I decided at that point to try and use, I suppose, my technology background to make high quality indoor self-storage work at smaller scale. So I found a town nearby of 25,000 people, no indoor self-storage. I took a long lease on a 12,000 square foot warehouse. And that was 18 months ago. I opened. And it's just been amazing ever since, really. I have staff, but they're not on site. They deal with some phone calls, take bookings and payments online. I've automated the entire payments and bookings process. People check in online before they turn up, so that's all done. I check their ID, and it's all ready to go. and I use a smart entry system. So I can check people in, move them in, instantly without being there. And the result of that was by month 5, we were cash flow break even. By this summer, we're on track to be hitting about a 45% annual return on the investment I made in getting the thing set up. So it's just been don't want to tempt fate, but it has so far been a really big success. And that was how I started in self storage. And then as we've been talking since we did the podcast and on the phone now and again ever since, off the back of that, I've developed a software product called Stora, which basically is what makes my facility business work. And so now we have that business as well.
Do you know what, Gavin? I've got so many notes. You'll see me just frantically scribbling down notes. I mean, to break even on month 5, that is absolutely incredible. 45% return on investment as well. People listening to this right now are going to be like, "Oh my God, how do we get involved? How did that happen?" But right from the very start, then, so you had no background in self-storage. How did you first come across self-storage? Because, as you said, there was no self-storage in your local area. Do you remember how you actually became aware of self-storage?
Yeah, I do. Really, actually, my uncle has about 7 or 8 years ago. He has, in my local town where I live and where I grew up, he had a yard, and about 7 years ago, he had a few shipping containers. Somebody mentioned to him, "Why don't you rent these out for people to store stuff?" And he said, "Yeah, fine." So really, it was just my uncle. He got into self-storage, and he has been, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was chatting to him, and he was telling me how he has these containers. People move in, and they always say on the way in, "Oh, I just need it for a month or two." And
Yes.
my uncle was saying, "Just never move out." And so it was really that my uncle really making me aware of the industry. Really, so I owe it to him. Really.
So you set up in competition.
Well, yeah. So I set up my facility 20 miles away, so we're not in competition.
Oh, right, yeah.
So no, we're still in good terms.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah, so one question, obviously we'll get into Stora later, but one question that I'm really interested about the manless side of it is how many people, do you actually know how many people move into your facility without you ever having to talk to, or a part of your team not talking to them? Do you have any stats on that?
Yeah, well, I don't actually have the latest stats on that, but a few months ago we did look at that, and it was around 55% of our bookings we don't speak to at all.
Wow.
So I don't know, that obviously changes, and that's why I still need staff. My customers still have questions. Like what size of unit do I need? Some people don't go to the website; they just say a phone number and call. So we still deal with those customers. We also now on our website and with Stora we collect leads as well from the site, so people don't transact. We have their details, so we can call them and ask them how they're getting on and see what's going on. But most of our customers, just over half our customers, we don't speak to and we don't see.
Do you know what, Gavin? That is absolutely fantastic. I think that is testament to your software. I've been speaking to people in America who play the automation game, and they're averaging around about 30%. Now, for me, that you're getting 55%, that means that the customers that you see are having less questions through your process. So you must be answering more questions than that's on the top of the mind of the customers, because otherwise they get in contact with you more. And it's almost the less, or the path of least friction that we can create is the better for the customers. And 55% of people not even getting in contact or picking up the phone, asking you the simplest questions is unreal, mate. So it's testament to you and your software.
I think actually, it comes down to the team that I have. So I've got a brilliant team at Stora now. People I've worked with them for years on other stuff, and our background together is on consumer technology products. And so, my team, much more than me, have a background in building consumer technology products that are designed to help customers to convert online or in an app. And that's our background. Mm-hmm. So it really comes down to how you design the online experience, and where do you give people information, where do you give them nudges, at what point in the process do you think people are going to have a doubt? And so you make sure at that point you have something that appears that kind of that gets rid of the doubt. So, for example, in our checkout form, at the point where you're about to go to the payment page, we have a little review that just pops, like a review on the right hand side, a customer review that pops up, and that's set up so any of our Stora customers can do this too. But you basically set it up, and then it just appears. And having a customer review in the right hand corner when you're about to kind of press go and pay, it's just a little validation thing that helps people to convert. Yes. And so it really comes down to those sort of things. And then also typical things like making sure people understand the size that they need. And also things like making them understand that if they get the size wrong, they can just change when they arrive. So that allows people to book with confidence, book a 50 square foot with confidence, knowing that even if they're wrong, they can change when they get there. So there's things like that you can do to just really help just drive conversion. And that is down to the team that we have at Stora, because that's their background, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, the fact that you guys are aware of that then is brilliant. The fact that it's little trigger points, like we use something called Hotjar to see the customer's journey, how they're behaving on our website, what they're doing, how they're interacting with our website, where they're dropping off. And it's a little simple thing of just testing something by changing the color of a button. We increased our quotes by 220% just by changing the color of a button. It's absolutely incredible on that page with the traffic. And it's a small sample size, I know, but we changed it from green to orange, and it increased our click-through rate. And it's just being aware of them little twitches here and there, just like the testimonial that you mentioned on the right-hand side of the page. It's a validation, it's social proof, and it's just that pushing them over the edge to make sure they go forward to the next part of the journey. So exactly. I think it's brilliant.
One of the most obvious ones that we do all over the site is to say cancel anytime for free. And that's just in text on the right-hand side. And that just gives people confidence again, just to transact, because they know this isn't I know, very, very few of our customers don't proceed to turn up, and don't proceed to pay, but it just gives a feeling that, I can get out of this, which they can. And so they should just be told, this isn't a big commitment, at that time. So yeah, no, it's interesting. The other thing to keep in mind, I think that one of the things that I think is really important, I was just reading this morning about one of Jeff Bezos mentioned in one of his shareholder updates about how quickly most Amazon customers transact online. I think it's some big high percentage within 5 minutes, and some like 80% or so within 15 minutes it takes them to transact online. And compare that to the transaction time for high street shopping, so much quicker. People love saving time. So the idea that you can, it might help your conversion to stop people booking on the site. So they need to get a quote, and then there's a phone call and maybe a visit. That whole thing adds, from start to finish might be a day, but it might be a total time of half an hour or an hour.
Yep.
Our average customer lands on the site, picks their unit, puts their booking details in, and sets up their payment within about 7 minutes. So that is a big attraction for customers. It saves them a ton of time, and I think ultimately that will allow us and anyone using a similar sort of approach than anyone using Stora to actually increase your prices and charge more versus the competition, because you're saving the customer a pile of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of my questions was, I wanted to know why you got in the industry, but obviously you've mentioned about the 9 square foot per capita in America compared to over here. Mm-hmm. And so you see a massive opportunity and massive growth. One big question I've got for you then is, why do you believe so much in automation? What is the reasons behind it?
I suppose I found it a little bit hard to answer that question, because I feel like it's so obvious.
Yeah.
You look at the airline industry, look at the hotel industry, look at almost any industry where there's those are physical businesses in the same way self-storage is. You go and get on a plane, you go to your hotel, you stay in it. You book an Airbnb, you go and stay. It's the same with self-storage. But years ago, decades ago, they moved their booking and payment process to online. And every industry on the planet is either there already or is moving there. So, I think if you think about what's the self-storage industry going to look like in 10 years or maybe 5 years, it's obvious to me, at least, that it's going to be online bookings and payments. that's going to happen. And so, I think if you're starting out in self-storage today, I think you've got your eye. You're starting from zero and you're looking at the future. I think you'll make a decision to embrace that sort of technology. And yeah, that's why I just think that's where it's going to go, and that's where we're going. And there's a saying, there's a Wayne Gretzky, the ice hockey player, says, what's the saying? Skate to where the puck is going, not to where it has been or where it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the industry is going. I think it's obviously going that way, and it might take a year, 5 years, 10 years to get there, but it's going to happen. And I think the fact that technology, the pace of technology and innovation is only accelerating. It's funny to think the iPhone only launched 14 years ago.
Really?
And the App Store I think launched in 2009. So the concept of an App Store has only been around for 12 years. But think about how much of our lives have changed since that.
Yeah. Oh my.
Even
God,
every day. Like I wake up, and I try not to do this, but I wake up in the morning, and my alarm on my phone wakes me up. I'll check my emails most of the time before I'm even out of bed. I might go on Twitter. I might stick on a podcast and lie in bed for half an hour and listen to you talking about how well your business is going. But think back 15 years, that didn't happen. But maybe 20 years ago, we were doing the same things in the morning as we were doing 60 years ago. You have an alarm clock by the bed. You got to make your breakfast and buy the papers. Things are just accelerating, and that's just going to continue. And I think if you're an incumbent in the self-storage industry, the challenge is working out when is sensible for you to sort of innovate and kind of jump on that. And for a lot of businesses, it might not be a sensible choice to do that yet. It might be wait for a bit longer, wait till the technology is a bit further along. But if you're starting out today, I think you embrace the technology now, I think, and go with it.
Yeah, do you know what? Obviously, 18 months, nearly 2 years ago, 18 months ago, I obviously had a debate against Travis Morrow, and I was against the automation, but I was pro giving the customer what they wanted. And since then, the more I educate myself, the more I learn myself, it's only going in one direction. We have to give the customers what they want. And obviously, because of COVID, I don't think COVID's changed the game or changed the landscape. I think it's accelerated it, and it's accelerated to where the customers' behaviors are going. Look at what we're doing online now, shopping online. Who would have ever thought just 5 years ago that most of us would be getting shopping delivered to our doors? It's changing. Everything is changing. And we have to be focusing on how we can disrupt an industry and how we can actually put ourselves out of business. What is our blind side? What aren't we seeing? And in the self-storage industry, I think that we've had it so easy, so good for so long that if it's there, it works. But it will happen where people will come and disrupt this industry, and we have to be willing to change and alter our approach. And I am massively for manless facilities now. And that's not to say that we don't have any customers, any staff, because obviously, of course, we do. We have people in call centers. We're still going to have cleaners. We're still going to have people going around to check the units, doing repairs. But all it means is that instead of a customer being on site, the staff member being on site, the staff member is positioned at home or wherever they want to be. And it just makes much more sense. And from a cost point of view as well, just to dip your toe into this sort of technology in the market and where it's going. So in terms of Stora, what is Stora then? What is the software?
I'll answer that in a second. I just want to back up what you were saying for one moment. I think one of the nice things about self-storage for people who are in it is it's a very profitable industry.
Yeah.
And like we've talked about, it's in the UK especially, it really does seem to be at a very early stage still. And that's great. But it's attracting more and more entrants. And at Stora I must talk to 3 or 4 new entrants every week who are coming into the UK to do self-storage. And it's going to get more competitive, and you just have to work out how do you stay competitive. And luckily it's a local business, so it isn't necessarily it'll take time, and a lot of people will be fine, but it's just going to get more competitive anyway. So what is Stora? I suppose in short, Stora is the software that makes my facility business possible. So getting Stora makes it really easy for anyone to book, to instantly take bookings and online payments, to do their online check-in with their customers, to automate large parts of the business admin, including billing and payments. There's loads more, but that's the main stuff. So essentially, it's a software product for really mostly new self-storage startups to use to help them run their business, sell to their customers, and and grow their business over time. I suppose it kind of gives my facility business quite a big advantage. It's the reason that we're hitting a 45% ROI, because it allows us to automate everything, keep our costs down. But I was listening to a podcast a month or two ago with Tim Ferriss and a guy whose name I can't pronounce, but he had this phrase about to win and help win, which I thought was just so good. Like, we want to win. Like, we want our facility business to do well, and our software is the key component of that. But we're also realistic to know that our business, we can't have thousands of sites across the UK and across the world. Like, that's not going to happen for us. So, but we have this software product, and we want to make that available to other people so that they can go and win and do well, and hopefully replicate the success that we've had with, admittedly, it's one site for now. We're opening more this year, but hopefully our software tool can help other people to do sort of the same thing I'm doing in England and Scotland and Wales and outside the UK, and hopefully help other people to grow the business. And of course, we will hopefully do well off the back of their success, but ultimately we want to try and help other people to win in this industry too. So yeah.
The reason why I asked you to come on, Gavin, speak about the software is I'm not affiliated with you or the software in any way, shape or form, but I just think it's such a fantastic product, and I've been very, very lucky to be able to speak to you from since our very, very first podcast, and I've seen the lengths and depths that you're willing to go to make sure it is the best product. And to say you genuinely care is a complete understatement. And I've seen the progression of what it can do and how it can help people. And we've got so many people listening to this podcast who are just coming into market, who want to come into the market, who don't know which way to go or how to take the first step. And so this is why I thought it'd be absolutely perfect to get you on. One of the things that I've always give you feedback on is that I genuinely think you're too cheap. You're starting, is it £99 per month or something you're starting from? And I still think that's an incredible value proposition for anybody looking to come into the market. I know it sounds like an advertisement for your store, but it's genuinely how I feel. I think it's such a great product.
Well, thanks very much. Yeah, thanks. We'll double our price just as of today.
So it's now $197.
I suppose we want to make our product available to lots of people and want to make it really accessible. And I think back to where I was 2 years ago as a startup, and I suppose our pricing is based on what would I have been happy to pay at that stage.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of partly behind the pricing thinking. So yeah, I think whenever I was looking at self-storage 2 years ago, there was just a lot of stuff to try and automate my site. There's a lot of stuff I needed, and now that's what Stora provides. So we're really focused at the moment on startups and helping self-storage startups get going, and we provide a bunch of stuff for them that works. So we give, if you're using Stora, you get a customizable, super fast SEO optimized homepage. So your website is kind of automatically created for you, and you can change it to your colors and branding and text and images.
Well, I'll tell you what, Gavin, this is my next question. If you could actually walk us through step by step exactly what you're doing here, like pretend that I know nothing about the industry, and loads of people now will be saying, well, you do. So there we go. So yeah, if you can just do a step-by-step guide, exactly what is Stora, because there'll be people who are listening to this thinking, well, I don't really understand it. How does it integrate? How is it part of the process? How can it help me as a self-storage owner? So yeah, if you can start with step-by-step guide, buddy, that'd be fantastic.
Okay, this is a good test of my sales skills here. So let me think. So let's say you're considering opening a self-storage business. You've found a site. Maybe you've been open for a few months and you've been just taking bookings in person. You've got some containers or whatever it is, and you want to you need some software to manage that and to process payments. That's what Stora is for. So okay, so let's sort of take from the start. You need a website. You want to have a website where people can come and read about your product and your business. And if you're using Stora, we provide you a website. It's a homepage. It has terms and conditions, privacy policy, a blog, and it's kind of just part of the package. And within our system, you can customize the website. You can change text, change images, change colors, and make it look like your brand and make it match up. So we give you your website. You can have your own website if you want, but we give you a website that you can use. And most of our customers do use that because it just kind of does everything they need right from the start. And that's all really fast. So, it loads really quickly, and that's important because when it comes to SEO, that's a really important factor for Google. And my site, whenever I opened up my site, we were number one in our local area before I'd even opened my facility. So it's really important to be good at SEO. So number one, website. Number two, and this is probably the most important part of the product, is built into the website is online bookings and online payments. So your customers can come to your site, can look at all the different units you have, and you set your prices in the Stora system, and then they see it, and then they can go ahead, choose the unit, and they can pick the move-in date, choose their level of insurance, and they can then enter their payment details, press confirm, and that is their booking confirmed. So that whole process is provided by Stora, and we host all of that for you. So if you're a new operator, you don't have to build a website or go and set up a hosting service. We take care of everything, and it's really just flick it across. There's a CRM system built into Stora too. So let's say you have a customer comes to the site and looks at a unit and doesn't complete the booking. The information is stored, so you can, if you want to, and if you've got the staff to it, you can call them and say, "Oh, can I help? Is there any questions?" You can do all that too. There's then also, so once somebody's booked, we then provide you with a full online check-in process, so your customers can check in online beforehand. So like before your EasyJet flight, to check in online. That's what you do. It's the same with self-storage. We provide the whole online check-in, so that means your customers have signed a contract. It means we've confirmed the ID for you, so that the person's the person to say they are, and they're ready to move in then. So that's as well. So website, online bookings and payments, online check-in. That's the customer experience, really. And then in the background, there's the facility management. So you can set your prices in the Stora system. That all flows straight through to the website. You can set discounts, set up coupons. You can set your insurance, and you can update the website, update whatever bits and pieces you want, and then you can allocate units. So it tracks your unit availability too. So it helps you sort of, if you've got 50 units, you can see what you have available, etc. So that's kind of the stuff. Those are the two big bits of technology. And then there's a lot of stuff that's hidden. And that's, again, a really important part of the product. So automated billing and payments. So if you are using Stora and you want to, the fact that your customers provide the payment details, we store that in the background and set up a recurring payment plan for that customer that just continues and continues until they or you go in and press a button to cancel it. So all the payments just land in your bank. We've automated missed payment chasing as well. So there's a 10-day process that chases customers if they've missed a payment. If you're using the smart entry system, it can turn off their entry instantly so that they can't get in if their payment has failed. So it kind of manages the facility, manages the booking, and manages the payments for you. And I suppose everything you need from an online perspective, we give you.
Yeah, and when you say smart entry system, do you mean something like Noki or SensorBag?
Noki or SensorBag or PTI or Bearbox, whatever. One of those ones, it hooks in with that. I suppose one way to kind of, try and sum it up is I've done a demo with a customer on a Monday, showed him the system, say like, here's the website that was created, here's how it all works, and he has been live online the next day, taking bookings with our system. So he hasn't, so it's really easy to get started, really easy to set up, and just does all that stuff for you.
It's almost like the click funnels for the self-storage world.
Yeah, click. Yeah, that's one way to think of it. Yeah, exactly. We sometimes refer to it as Shopify for self-storage. So we're kind of giving you your online store and doing all the payments and everything in the background for you.
So a little birdie tells me you've got some exciting news or some news about Stora. Do you want to share it with us?
Yeah, sure. So
I don't actually know what it is.
So I suppose when I was last on the podcast, back in, was it May maybe last year? I had a small Northern Irish self-storage facility and an idea for a software product. And since then we've set up Stora, which is this new software product. But yeah, the exciting announcement that we're making today is that we've just raised an equity investment round, been led by Techstart, who are a UK venture capital firm, and I suppose, with all respect to Techstart, even more excitingly, joined by a guy called David Milton, who's a self-storage industry legend. David has been in the industry since, for 28 years, I think. He was on the Self-Storage Association for 5 years, 3 years chairman, and he sold his own self-storage business in 2018 to SureGuard for £50 million. And I got to know David over the past year or so, and he shares our vision of a future in self-storage that's tech-enabled, and it's just a huge validation, and it's really exciting, for our business to have someone like David, kind of backing our business. So yeah, it's brilliant. We're just sort of announcing that today, and it's allowing us. We're trebling the size of our Stora team, so we're taking on a lot more developers. We've got full-time support now as well, so all our customers have a phone number they can call to get any support questions answered with online support. And it's great. So we're using the money. £500,000 is going to be going into Stora for development of that, and then there's additional funds which are going to go into our facility business to help grow that. So it's really exciting, and David's it's incredible to have David on board, and it's exciting times.
That is absolutely massive for you guys. How did that relationship start with David then? Did he just hear about you, or did you contact him? How did it materialize?
That's a good question. I think it was, so I think the reason that we got in touch, we ended up talking, was I wrote an article back in lockdown last year when I was sitting in my office here bored, about just the tech I'd built. And I think David stumbled across that on LinkedIn, or I might have potentially messaged him on LinkedIn and just say, I might be interested in this, without really knowing a whole lot about David's background. I messaged a few people, and then we got chatting on LinkedIn, and actually David's wife is from Northern Ireland, so he was over here in the summertime and actually met up and showed him around my facility and chatted to him, and just been kind of in touch ever since. He's been just even since the summer been advising us and having probably a call every couple of weeks about how we're getting on, and so it was sort of almost like a natural progression to become an investor in a way. But it's been great.
What a validation there, though, just to know you're on the right tracks, and it must give you a real boost, a real confident boost to know that everything's going in the right direction, you're on the right lines as well.
It is great, it's I think David, I think he was one of his site is ABC Self Storage. I think it was one of the first self storage businesses in the UK. He is a pioneer in the industry. And he has a good eye or nose for opportunity, and I think his view from whenever we were talking a year ago was the big opportunity in self storage in the UK is the smaller unmanned indoor sites. It's that 19.2 million, those 19.2 million people I mentioned. It's those people that have no indoor self storage. If that's not a big opportunity, I don't know what is. So. I think he's just totally bought into that, and it's great.
Yeah, I wrote that down. One of the stats that you first mentioned, I've got it here: 19.2 million live in towns. Yeah, I think it's incredible. So I was obviously doing research for this podcast as well, and something that I've remembered just briefly discussing it with you previously, but I never knew it was on your website. And it talks about the brand marketplace, storage brand marketplace. What is that? Can you tell people what you're doing there?
So I suppose we spend most of our time on two things. One is product development and making Stora do all the things that we know our customers need it to do, and that takes up most of our developers' time. And then there's a second thing that we spend a good bit of time on, which is we kind of want to help foster the startup community within self storage. We want to provide the tools and the knowledge that anyone coming to the industry from zero needs to kind of get started, and our Stora product is a big part of that. But there are other things that we want to do to help make it easier for people. So the Stora brand marketplace is kind of one of the first things that we've launched with that. And what we've done there is we went and bought 10 domain names that we liked in self-storage, random names like we've got one called keepspacestorage.com, we've got lockerstorage.com, and all these different ones, store24storage.com, I think it is. And we bought the domains, and then we've got a team of designers, we've created the brands for each of those 10. So logos, all the artwork, everything, and the color scheme, everything that a new operator needs when they're trying to develop a brand. And we've packaged all of that up, and we're basically selling them as a package. So if you're a new operator, you can go and buy a ready-made brand with the logo and all the artwork and the domain name, all for just one fixed price. You can pick whichever one you like the most, and you can buy it. And it's just one of the steps we're trying to take to make it easier for people. And I come back to what would I have done 2 years ago, and I would have gone and bought one from the site, because I had to go and hire people to do it, and I had to do a lot of time myself. And so the prices range from, I think it's about 1,000 up to 3,000 for some of them. But for £1,000, you save a ton of time, and you would have had to spend that anyway. So that's what that is. I suppose that there's a few other things that I'll mention just while you ask about the marketplace. Other things that we're looking at. So also early next year, we want to launch Stora Capital. And Stora Capital is a product that will basically will provide capital and funding to self-storage operators, customers of Stora. And so let's say you've done phase one, you're using Stora, you've grown the business, you're taking £4,000 or £5,000 a month, whatever, and it's all going. We as your platform can see see how the business is going. We can then make a certain amount of funding available to you, maybe £100,000, £250,000, whatever it might be, to help fund your phase two or your phase three. And then we know how your business is going, so that we have like a sort of unique insight into how well it's going. We also have our own facility. We know the industry inside out, and then it's almost like just this. It's a natural progression to do that, and it'd be really easy for operators to just click a button and the funds would arrive, and then the repayments just come out of your monthly takings that we're helping you process. So that's another thing we're looking at.
Gavin, just before you move on to the second one, can I just say, mate, I've genuinely got tingles. I've got goose pimples when you was talking about that, because I've just wrote in block capitals and highlighted it. I just think that it serves a purpose for the customer and for you guys as well, because you can see exactly the trajectory of that company, of the person who's at the helm as well. And I absolutely love that. I think it's great, because one of the big problems, I get so many emails asking me about funding. Do I know anybody who can fund them? Which banks do I go to? Where can we go? And that would be beneficial to you, because you're backing the right horse, and it's beneficial for the customers as well. I love it. Absolutely love that one.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the thing. If you go to try and get a loan from a bank, they don't have anything like the insight into your business that we will have. We will see your business transacting on a second by second basis, so we'll know how it's going, and we'll be able to offer loans based on that. So that we're hoping that'll come out early next year. And then another thing, so that again, it's just tied into this idea that we're trying to help self-storage operators to get started and to grow and to kind of establish their business and be successful. And then the third thing, which maybe isn't going to give you goosebumps as much, but is we're trying. We're probably closer to doing this. We're thinking about launching like a self-storage academy, so like an online resource, which will have almost like a course. We thought about a book, and then we just thought, well, maybe something more modern would be like an online courses, and hopefully we'll pull in people across the industry that have the experience across different parts. But the idea of that again is for somebody like me 2 years ago to come along and say, right, well, should I do an indoor site or a container site? What are the different pros and cons? What should I consider? Where can I go and get some startup capital? Here are the things to think about. How do I do my branding? How do I market this? Like, should I do Google ads? Like, how do I do Google ads? Things like that can just help people to make it really easy to get started. So we're hoping to have a version of that in about 2 or 3 months' time on the website, and then we'll just grow that over time. So we're trying to think about these things and add them in so that we can, like I said, Stora can kind of be a place that new startups can come to, and hopefully existing operators in time too, as you know, as we expand our offering and hopefully partner with some existing software providers. We can just kind of like be a place where we can help people in my situation just to grow their business and to continue growing.
Yeah, it's an all-in-one hub, isn't it? You're basically thinking of all the questions that you had, all the stumbling blocks that you potentially had when you first, what you didn't know, what the questions you had, and then you're answering these questions for people coming into the industry. The one overall question I've got for you, Gavin, is time. How the hell do you have the time to do all this?
Well, I've got a really good team of people. I've just a brilliant team. Like there are 6 of us now at the moment. Yeah. And 3 of the guys I've worked with in my previous tech startup we worked together for 5 years, and they're just a great team of people. And so, most of the stuff I'm talking about, most of it wasn't even my idea. So, I'm just kind of taking the glory by getting to talk about it, but most of it's just other people doing the work and putting in the time.
Yeah, 100% agree. I couldn't do what I do. I couldn't be on this call now if I didn't have a team that I trusted as well. And we've hired another virtual assistant as well. And just from the virtual assistants, from Joe who does all the editing from the podcast, to Angela, to James, to my wife Claire. We've got so much support from everybody, which allows me to have these crazy ideas and the visionary of the company. So yeah, I'm very lucky. I've got a couple of questions for you just to wrap it all up, basically, because I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. I want to make sure that everybody gets the correct understanding of Stora and what it is. What is the difference between Stora versus other software products?
That's a good question. I think, I suppose at an architectural level, there are obviously some great software products in the industry already that you use them, other people use them, and I suppose the difference between what we're doing and what has historically been done is most of those products have been around for 10 or 20 years, and they were developed at a time whenever the self-storage industry was built around kind of the idea of in-person sales and in-person move-ins, and so they do a brilliant job of helping you manage and track all of that stuff. And it's the right product for lots of people. Our approach has been totally different than that, which is we are thinking, where's the industry going to be in 5 years? We think online bookings, online payments, online check-in, automation. And so we are developing a product built for the web, built for those things at the very start. And that it just creates a few different things in the end. So it just means that our focus is on the online experience that your customers will have and making that as optimized as possible, so the conversion rates are as high as possible. So it means that, and it means that things like automation can happen in the background. So I don't do invoicing, it's automated. I don't do reconciliation of payments, it's automated. It allows you to do all that stuff. So I suppose that's the difference. It's a different approach, and I think there's room for both, obviously, and I just think we hope that over time we can pick up more and more of the new guys in the industry, and at the same time the existing people in there, the existing software providers, will continue to be relevant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully alongside us.
And so if you've got an existing software, can you integrate it with your software as well, or is that something completely different now?
So the answer to that is not yet, but I suppose one of the things that I've learned, having spoken to lots of, probably over 100 different operators over the past year, so as I've been trying to learn as much as I can to try and help work out how to develop Stora, is that there are a lot of operators, and I suppose you, to an extent, you fall into this camp as well, where the systems are working and working well. And there really isn't a burning need for a lot of people to switch off them, and I think that's fine. I think that's a good place for everyone to be in. And so, we don't yet work with anybody, but I think one of the things that I think we could do to help would be, and we're looking into this, and we are talking to a few software companies now who are incumbents in the industry. Can we find a way to work alongside them to a mutual benefit? So, let's say you're using a product. And it doesn't really support online bookings and payments quite yet, or the way that we can we be like an add-on to that, so that you can kind of just turn on online bookings and payments, but you can keep using your service that you like and the processes that you like. And yeah, I'd hope that in a few months' time we might have something to say about that, but we're still kind of in the early stages of trying to work that out.
Yeah, listen, I could go on and on for, I've got so many questions, but I know they're unique to myself. And so if anybody wanted to get in contact with you, then I think the best thing is to give out your details. And obviously we'll put links in the show notes. And if anybody wanted a demo, if anybody wanted to speak to you, then obviously they can do so. So how would people get in contact with yourself?
That'd be, so please feel free to get in touch anytime or any way that suits. My email is gavin@stora.co, so STORA.co. That's my email. If you go to stora.co, that's our website, and even on there you can just book a demo on the homepage. That's with me, so that's probably the easiest way to do it. But anybody else, feel free to get in touch with if you have any questions on what you're doing or getting started up. I was in 2 years ago, I was just getting started and had 50, 100 questions I needed answered, and I'm very happy to help anybody if they're in the same situation. So yeah, please do get in touch.
Yeah, and I can honestly say that you are definitely willing to help people, and we've had conversations for hours on end where I've just been picking your brain as well, and you've certainly changed the direction that I look at self-storage as well, just by your analytical approach and then telling me the numbers. I'm like, oh my God, I've been missing something all along. Before I spoke to you, I was 100% down the mindset of acquisitions. I was going to buy and add value to not underperforming facilities, what I believe that I could improve on. But after talking to yourself, I realized, oh my God, I'm taking the wrong approach. Don't get me wrong, I still think there's a place for acquisitions and I will be looking at that in the future. But right now I've changed direction. And so I wanted to publicly thank you, Gavin, because it was from a conversation that we have. I remember the conversation like it was yesterday, and all of a sudden the penny drops and I thought, no, I've got to open facilities with it being a manless facility from the start. And that's where for me, and when you talk about 45% ROI, I'm massive into my numbers. I love my spreadsheets, and them figures are, I'd be disappointed if we didn't hit them as well, because they're not just achievable, they are realistic as well. And for people listening and thinking 45% return on your money, yeah, it's impossible. It really is. You've got a fantastic software, a spreadsheet out there that I use still to this day. I give it out to everybody. It's got your logo and your name on it, so everybody knows it's from you. And I still give that to people, because for me, that is the best spreadsheet in the industry, bar none, that can really help you plot out exactly where you're going. So that is a fantastic gift, and I presume it's still available anyway, Gavin, from you guys.
It is.
It's a fantastic little bit of kit, and I plug in my numbers to every potential site, and it shows you the return on investment as well. And yeah, I know it sounds like an advertisement, but it's genuinely something that I know that Gavin can massively help with. And thanks for your time, buddy. I really appreciate your help with me on my journey as well.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Dean. You're being far too kind. But thanks a lot. And thanks for having me on again. It's been really nice to chat, and good luck with the plans for the summer.
Oh yeah, can't wait. All right, pal. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure loads of people get in touch, and appreciate you coming on.
Thanks very much. See you later.